The Floor Academy podcast is sponsored by Trelama, the trade labor marketplace, where businesses can find skilled trade labor, such as flooring installers, and where flooring installers and other skilled tradespeople can find permanent or project work. You can set up your profile at trelama.com, TRALAMA.com, or download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play. And remember, Trelama is always free for skilled tradespeople. Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadid, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona. We're here to talk with flooring professionals from all over the country about the issues that matter to you. I want to encourage you to learn while you earn. This week's guest is Mark Herakovic. Mark is from West Farmington, Ohio, and just recently became the operations manager for MDG Flooring. Throughout Mark's career, he has been an employee, self-employed, and now management. We sit down to discuss the topic of work-life balance. Are we the two guys to tackle this topic? Probably not. But listen in as we openly discuss some shortcomings and how we and you can better manage your business and time. Mark Herakovic, are you there?
I am.
Ooh, welcome back to the Floor Academy podcast.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Your life has changed a little bit since the last time you've been on.
It's been, almost a year or so since I've been on.
I think a little over a year. You were working for Josh Fox still.
Yeah.
Now Josh works at MDG Flooring. You work for MDG Flooring. And you're not technically going to be an installer anymore, but I'll stop ruining who you are and let's get you to, give us the quick intro. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? All that fun stuff. And, then we'll move into the topic here, which is funny that the two of us are going to talk about this.
It's extremely funny. But I'm Mark Herakovic. I am now the officially today. I am the operations manager for MDG Flooring. I'm actually in charge of the warehouse and all of our installers, in-house installers. So no more installing for me.
Okay. Give me that brief background again, though. We went over it. If anybody wants to go way back, right? Like you can go find the camaraderie in the trades episodes. It's probably like episode 3. Scroll way down there to the bottom.
Way back.
Yeah, way back.
Just look for the one that was the least listened to.
It doesn't say that when you look for him though. But no, I mean you started.
Or look for the longest one.
You left. You essentially stopped college and you were doing bowling lanes.
I dropped. I finished 1 year of school, 1 year of college, and my buddy answered an ad in the paper. I went to work with them, and we were refinishing and remodeling bowling centers all over the country. And then when I quit there, I went to work I was dating this girl at the time, and her best friend's brother-in-law or whatever was doing flooring. So I went to work with him. And then it just went from there. And then, it's just, 25 years installing before I went to MDG full time. Been with them almost a year and a half now. And
Okay.
Now I'm the operations manager.
And well deserved at that. You deserve a break.
Some days it's always better to go back to installing than dealing with everything else I got to deal with. I'm giving up one stress for another. How about that?
Yeah, look. You can have pain in the butt clients or pain in the butt installers to manage. Choose your poison.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Oh no, I get it. All right, so I mean, you got that. We're gonna talk work-life balance, and I think it's funny that we're doing this because we've tried to schedule this podcast for like, it's been 2 or 3 weeks now of us trying to figure this out, and we're canceling on each other, and we're fitting in family engagements, or we're working late, or something came up and we have to fix it just because of our positions. Like, I'm running my own show, you're moving up into a position, and
I'm sitting in traffic because of an accident for an hour and a half.
correct. And it's late, right? Like, it's already after
Yeah.
5 or 6 o'clock when this stuff is happening. Like, I don't know that we're the guys that should tackle work-life balance, but maybe that's why we should tackle work-life balance. Don't be me
Yeah.
and Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like I said, in May, it'll be 27 years I've been doing this. And it's very rare if I get home before 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And I usually leave between 6 and 6:30 in the morning every day. But then you get into the weeks. I just came off of I think it was like 29 days straight of working 7 days a week, and
Oh my gosh.
it sucks, whether it's for work or if it's a side job or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just go, go, go. And then, you try to fit in that family time. Also, it becomes very, very difficult, because then you're like, oh, I got to get this job done. But then, my wife starts texting. It's like, hey, where are you? We got to be here. Or,
Mm-hmm.
hey, don't forget this. And it's like, God, it sucks. As an installer, yeah, you want to make sure your client's happy. You're technically kind of work for the client since they're paying you. But there's that point where, you're just like, wait a minute. No, I don't work for you. I'm going home. It's like I'm working for my family. I don't work for you to be here until 7 o'clock at night. But it does become very taxing on trying to remember, okay, this is for work, but you can't forget that home part,
Yeah.
and it's a struggle.
It is. And I mean, I agree, right? Because you don't work for them, but you've been paid by the store to go provide a service for this person. And in my case, like, because I sell my own jobs, I've agreed to perform a service in exchange for money. So they've bought my time, and I look at a project and I say it's going to take X amount of time, and the store looks at something and says it's going to take X amount of time. But then something comes up and it's okay, now how do I fit in doing the self level or the patching? Or because in my case, I book everything. Like, I know, I'm going to do 1,000 or 1,200 or whatever the current number is, depending on my current help in labor per day. So if I bid a job and it's, with the old guy, it was $1,000 a day in labor, I would do 800. He would do 200. A $5,000 job, when it hit my, spreadsheet and the numbers were calculated, I said, okay, we got 5 days. So I would tell the client, okay, hey, we're going to start on Monday. We'll be out of there by Friday. And if I have a problem, then I have to call the next 6-7 people on my board and say, hey, you're all bumped a day. And then if the next project has a problem, I gotta call them back up and bump them again and bump them again, because you're never gonna make it up. You only ever run into problems. You rarely finish a project early. So then it turns into,
you haven't been on a job with me, but
you just need to move so that I can have some reliable help. But you generally don't finish projects early. Like, I know me, and I know how fast I'm going to get something done, just like you. Like, the store may say you have 3 days, but it's 2 days for you. So you would have bid it at 2 days. But generally you only run into, oh shoot, I have this problem. And so now I got to put in a 12 or a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
And then where do you sacrifice it? Plus, I'm out doing the bids and stuff. So I was out. I did a bid. We were having my daughter's birthday party a couple weeks back. Sunday afternoon, I think. I was out in the morning doing a bid. In fact, I think it was for your friend Jennifer. I think I was out measuring that house And then I came back home and I did birthday party.
Yeah, because I think we were supposed to do this episode then.
Probably.
It was one of the days.
Exactly. And so it's like, yeah, I did birthday party, right? And I fit in family. And I will admit, right? Like I'm a bad dad right now. I fit in the birthday party around the business.
Yeah,
When I built the business to provide for the family, and so I should be fitting the business into the family.
and that's the thing. It's like, especially when you own your own business, and it was the same when I had my own install company. I was doing 7 days a week, and I was working until 9 o'clock at night, and then doing estimates, coming home, writing them out, getting them out, and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then it's like, what, and it didn't even dawn on me. I was like, hey, I'm building a business, but it didn't dawn on me until I moved full time salary position here at MDG, that I was like, wait a minute, it's 2 o'clock and I'm done and I could just go home. I'm like, this seems odd,
Yeah.
but then by the time I get home, it's like I got an hour drive home every day. And by the time I get home, just that sitting and you know, that moment, that hour of relaxing while I'm driving home. By the time I get home, my knees are killing me, my hips are killing me, my back's killing me, and I can't move.
Yeah.
And then you come in, like I come in, I just crash on the couch, I eat dinner, and then either I doze off on the couch or I take a shower and I go up to bed. And
Yeah.
it's like the kids are like, hey, play with me, or hey, let's do this. And like, daddy hurts. Daddy ain't doing anything. And it sucks because then you look back on it, like my oldest is 14, my youngest is 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I just missed all the real good parts of them growing up,
Yeah. Uh,
and
Yep.
it's sad that when I look back on it over that time, I'm like, why was work my priority? And
Oh God,
it's
it's so
that
hard,
step.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I
And it's
think,
that step that everyone needs to understand is you need to get to that sooner than later, because the job will always be there. And if a customer is going to complain about that, have them pay you for what you did and go away. Because I'm sorry, no customer is going to justify me anymore working until 9 o'clock at night to get their crap done because they have a party or something.
correct. And I've done it, okay, and it's to keep me on schedule, and it's my flaw, right? I don't schedule weekends. I don't work Saturday and Sunday. I generally work one a year. 2021 is not off to a great start for me. I've already
Yeah.
worked 2 Saturdays. And
Yeah.
that's been some scheduling stuff. That's been some keep the schedule on. Now, what I'll say is that the company is growing and it's going in the direction I want it to go.
Did I lose you again?
Oh no, don't do this to me.
Hello.
Oh, hold on. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. You got me now? Mark, do you have me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry guys. I'm having technical difficulties on my side today. I don't know what the deal is. Um like I've worked 2 Saturdays already, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm not off to a great start. Some of that's been the help, some of that's been keeping projects on schedule. It was this job that was 40 minutes away, and this lady kept having like cracks in her slab, but then the project was scheduled for a Monday, and I only had the Monday to do it, which meant I had to go out there and fix the crack and pour the self level on
Yeah.
Saturday. And oh my gosh, like I'll generally try and schedule like an estimate for a Saturday morning. And I tell people, I'm like, look, I need to be done. I need to start at 8 or 9 a.m. to do your estimate because I'm going to come home and I'm going to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
And
And usually,
that's what I do.
yeah, and usually if you're upfront about that, especially like if you're just out doing an estimate or something, or doing an inspection on a install or something, everybody's usually very understanding about that.
Yes.
But if you go into a job and just rush through it so you can get home, they're going to notice that, it's that fine line you got to walk of, yeah, I got to be out of here at a certain time. But if you come in like that day, like I go into a lot of jobs in the morning and I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen today.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, I got to leave early tomorrow because, hey, I got to go do this interview or I got to go do this inspection. But hey, I got to be home because I got a family obligation. They're like, oh, yeah, yeah, no, no, not a problem. But you better bust your ass during the day, before you leave,
Correct.
so you don't fall behind, and that's that real thin, fine line that you got to toe sometimes, but you also got to realize the importance of what's more important, that one customer who's not going to be understanding because you got family obligations, or your family that's going to be pissed off at you forever.
Correct. That's gonna the impact on your kids is so huge. And like I've never missed a big event. Like I'm always there for, birthdays and this and that. And I'm not trying to be there's parents that'll be like they'll try and justify things, right? And
Yeah,
like I'm going to work 50 weeks a year hard as heck. And then we're going to go to Disneyland.
yeah, but you can't
I'm not
just
buying you
throw.
Disneyland. Disneyland doesn't
Yeah,
make up for the other 50 weeks, dude. It doesn't. It never
yeah,
will. They're going to
but what
resent
kind
you.
of, but even like say, okay, you go to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever. What kind of family bonding actually is there? I've been to Disneyland, Disney World when I was a kid many, many times. But what kind of family bonding is actually there? Because you're looking at all the attractions, you're staying in line for rides for 2, 3 hours at a time. You're going into the gift shops, you're going to look at the sites and everything. And okay, yeah, you're spending time together, but how much quality is actually there?
You, yeah,
It's that minor stuff. It's like, okay, my kids have a band concert, bam, I'm home.
correct.
And it's not like, okay, I get home and we're rushing right out the door. And that's happened a few times, but when it comes to stuff like that, no, I'm home so I could take a shower. Everybody's relaxed for a minute, and then we go out and have a good time together where everybody has their full attention, but if it's like I got to come home for a parent teacher conference, yeah, it's just me and the wife going, and it's like I come home, I'm like, be ready so we can leave right away.
Yeah.
You know, you got to know what's the most important part at that point. On yeah, I got to get home, but okay, I still have an hour before we have to leave. That's the time that actually means the most. Because now, like, say you have your kids, that's an hour of their undivided attention.
It is.
That those, at least to me, those are the best moments because everybody's loose and just joking around, or there's no. I come home, my kids are paddling and arguing and fighting as soon as I walk in the door. So it's like but on days like that, like band concerts, parent teacher conferences, or if we gotta run out somewhere, it's that half an hour to an hour that, yeah, everybody's just joking around, getting along. Those are the moments that are important.
Correct. You have to be intentional about it, right? Like you have to know that you're going to do something. And I think making all the little stuff is important if they're going to have a concert or some kind of play or what. Like you got to make that stuff. Like you
Yeah,
don't get it back when you break it down of like the time you can actually impact your child.
yeah,
You have nothing, right? Like they don't really start like yes, they absorb knowledge up until they're 5, but like really you only get I would say from like kindergarten to like 8th grade. So you get like 9 years.
and
Because
that's
once
where
they
all
hit
the
high
bonding
school,
really happens
they're
too.
they're done, right? Like they hit high school, like your son's 14 now. He's done with you. And he's not. Like you guys were watching BattleBots the other night, which is awesome. I like that you have that
Yeah.
thing like you do, but he's 14, Dad.
Well,
Ew,
no, my son's
gross.
12. My
Oh, sorry.
daughter's
Your
14.
daughter's 14, 12 and 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So she's probably done with you. Your son's still kind of into you,
Oh
but
yeah,
getting to that point, like,
she
you
never
go
comes
away.
out of her room. Yeah.
Correct. And I was the same way, right? Like, mom was cool until I hit like fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade. And then I was like,
Yeah.
ew, oh, no, I don't want anything to do
Yeah.
with you.
I
So
don't want to be around my parents. Yeah.
the
You know,
time you,
everybody goes through it.
correct, like the time you actually have to influence them and get them that, man, like the pillar to stand on, the foundation that they can live
Yeah.
their life on is
And
so
and that
small.
yeah, and that's the thing too. It's not even, you know, what you try to teach them. It's more of what they observe.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
especially at that age, it's what they observe because they're not fully understanding like anything you say to them. You know, it's not full comprehension there.
No, actions
So
speak way louder than words.
yeah, and you know, I always say I'm a horrible parent because I'm never home. But you know, it's like with my oldest, you know, I was there when she started walking. You know, we were there when she said her first words. But my other two kids,
Mm-hmm.
I'd get a text message of a video from my wife. Hey, he's walking now. Son of a
Oh,
bitch. You know, so it's like
dude. Yeah, that's rough.
I'd feel like crap, like all day long. It's like I missed it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
No,
know.
I get
And
it. I get it.
there's that again. That's that fine line. It's like at that time, you know, that was 12 years ago. You know, so I'm halfway through my career at that point where I was still learning a lot
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really pushing to, you know, keep work going and everything because I was self-employed at the time. And now I look back and I'm like, I ended up closing up anyways, you know, and I missed all of this for nothing, you know, and I look back on it and it eats at me every day, you know, but then especially like every day, I come home, my son and my youngest daughter always greet me at the door, give me a hug, tell me they love me, and my son's always like, "You're the best dad ever." I'm like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "I'm not. I'm never
Oh,
home."
but that's if
You
he
know?
thinks so, man, that you're doing something right because my kids just ignore me when I come home now. They used daddy, and they're just like, oh, hey, he's up. The dogs greet me better than my kids.
Yeah. Well, no, I get all three cats show up at the door too, you know, but um and I'm not a cat person, so I don't know why they come up to me, but they like me better than the ones who actually like them. But yeah, it shocks me, but it's a good feeling when I come home because now all the problems and the issues I have at work that's gnawing at me on my drive home.
Hmm.
As soon as I walk in the door, you know, you got, "Hi, Dad, I love you," and a hug, and it's like, I feel so much better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely.
it's and I look forward to that all the time. You know, but then also I get done with work and I sit at the warehouse, have a like 2, 3 beers with my warehouse guy or whatever installer comes in after hours or whatever, and then I come home and I'm like, God, that's just like 2 or 3 hours I wish I had back that I could have been home. But also,
Yeah.
that's kind of like our pardon my language, I always got to do this. It's like our bitching session, because like the warehouse guy tells me what the hell went on during the
Hmm.
day, other than the million calls and text messages between each other. I call and be like, "This is how my day went," and then we just sit down, crack a beer, and try to relax, and I I do that because yeah, it alleviates some of the stress, but it
Hmm.
helps get rid of that point of stress. So when I get home, I'm not stressed anymore,
Correct.
and now it's like, well, I don't do it because I pretty much veg out on the couch all the time and play on FIA. But it's, now it's not just, I'm still stressing about work and thinking about work. Now my time and mind is like talking with my wife and kids, and it's like I'm not coming home telling my wife who doesn't care, that I'm talking about flooring. And, now it's like I'm listening to what her day was like. And, I
Mm-hmm.
actually care,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
I think there's a balance to all of it, right? Like you have to get rid of the stress somewhere, but you
yeah,
still have to be able to be family guy. You have to set limits on what kind of business or employee you're going to be. If you don't want to work weekends, dude, straight up tell them I don't work weekends, okay? That
yeah,
a floor is not an emergency. I'm sorry.
yeah. It's
Unless
not.
you work for a restoration company that's going in and doing remediation work when there's a flood, a floor is not an emergency. They can go another 2 days without flooring down
Yeah,
and they'll be just fine. Okay.
yeah,
Like don't we have to learn to set the boundaries and be responsible business owners. Now that's not to say that like there's not going to be sacrifices along the way, right? Like you
yeah,
said you wish you had some time back, and I think I'm in a season where, I am trying to grow my business. I'm trying to get it off the ground. I'm trying to find the people that can replace me on the floor. And while I could go
yeah,
find some subcontractors, like I don't want subcontractors. I want reliable employees
you
like
want,
you,
yeah,
and I need to find them. And that's going to take some time and effort. And I'm going to have to like whittle through this pile of wood and figure
yeah,
out who's going to
and
fit it, right? Like there's going to be some sacrifices, but I think as long as there's open communication, like you and your spouse have to communicate. And even if you're divorced, you got a baby mama, like I don't know what your situation is, okay?
yeah,
You have to communicate with the people around you about your life and what's going on. Otherwise, they will grow to resent you because we can get really self-absorbed
oh
and
yeah,
easily blow this into proportions, right? Like it, especially if you're the entrepreneur and you're trying to like grow something, right? This podcast takes my time, the
yeah,
the group takes my
uh,
time, the business takes my time, and then I have the family on top of it, and like it adds up and it adds up and it adds up, just like for you, right? Like you're trying to
yeah,
moderate Flooring Installers of America, you're trying to do this new position, you were trying to do installs, you got the family on top of it. It goes
yeah,
and it goes and it goes and it goes, and it's like, when
yeah,
does it
and it ended
end?
up. Well, and that's why, I joke about it all the time, but I'm like, I'm praying for my first heart attack so I could get some rest, but,
Uh,
it's, I put myself in that position,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
where I didn't make that decision, when my oldest was born, that this is my priority,
Yeah.
because at that time I was still growing my business. I was only like a year or two into it, and I was trying to grow my business, and I made that my priority,
Yeah.
but I made the wrong decision, and don't get me wrong, I love what I do and everything, and I've worked my butt off to get to this point, and it took a lot longer than I was hoping, but I've made it to that point. But I also sacrificed a lot to get to that point. And looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, I really kind of screwed the pooch on that one,
Mm-hmm.
of like, okay, I missed my kid's first steps. Like my youngest, I missed her first word, or it's those things that you want to get back instead of
Yeah.
just looking at a video or something like that, and it's like, I wish I could remember that, but I wasn't there. It goes into regrets. It's like, I've lived my life where I have no regrets, because otherwise I wouldn't be in the position I'm at now. I wouldn't have a great family, and a great place to work and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that. But also, you look back on it though, like, it's not a regret, but it's like, what if I made this decision? How would that affect where I'm at now?
Yeah.
So it,
Yeah. Yeah.
it kind of goes hand in hand, but yet I wish there was a couple things. I don't regret what the decision I made, but it's like, I wish I did this differently.
Yes.
It sounds contradictory, but
No, it's not, because I get it. Like I don't think you should ever regret anything. You made that decision, and as long
yeah,
as you learn from it, right? Like you gain some kind of wisdom so that
hmm
you have an ability to make a more informed decision in the future. There's no
yeah,
reason to regret any decision you ever make. You only
Yeah.
regret when you don't learn. And so you've learned something, and now you're able to implement that into your life and know, okay, I need to hang out with my kids. I need to choose the family first. Like it, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying, right? Like it's kind of it's convoluted. It's kind of like wishy washy, but it makes sense. So,
Yeah.
um, I get it. There's stuff like I love doing the Cub Scout, Boy Scout stuff with my son, and just the whole COVID thing that's going on has that
Yeah.
stuff all like just super wonky for him, and they're not really
Yeah.
like doing any
And that,
trips, and they're not doing campouts, and I'm like, man, like I need
yeah.
it. It's
And
easier for
that's,
me when it's on there's a calendar and there's a date, and I have to put it in and I have to honor it, and like because my whole
yeah.
life is scheduled around the calendar, and when it's like loosey goosey, it's I can hang out with them anytime. I'll just
Yeah.
schedule this in. I'll just add this little thing. I'll just do this. And when there's hard dates and times, man, I take when we were doing Cub Scouts, I was the guy that had to drive the trailer to the
Yeah.
campouts and stuff like that, right? Like I didn't work that Friday because
Yeah.
I was picking up the trailer and we were loading up the coolers and everything was getting packed up, and we were getting up there early because we had to be there when everybody else got there.
Oh yeah. And you had to
So
get set
it
up
was
and
correct.
yeah,
And we
but that's the quality time that, quality time with your kid there.
correct.
Where now with the whole COVID thing, if you're working, you work because, otherwise you're sitting at home, you're not making money, you're not paying bills or anything like that. But, that becomes that loophole, that people are like, well, we can't go and do anything. So I'm just going to work, I could work until 7, 8 o'clock at night. But again, you're missing out. It's like, you know what? Why keep putting it at risk working that late? And just go home.
Correct. Well, it's a matter of okay. So like I provide a good living for my family. Okay, I've been able to pay myself 6 figures a year. I can pay somebody else to come on and do some work. Like we do well for ourselves, and that six
Yeah.
figures is us like paying off debt. Like I'm not even spending 100K a year on us yet. Like I'm paying off
Yeah.
debt with it, and so I think once you minus those numbers out, I think we're doing like 65 to 70 a year,
Yeah.
and so it's not a bad pay. I think for a single income family, like even if you had two incomes, you put those
Yeah.
together, you're going to hit that number, right? Like that's kind of what you need to
Oh yeah.
have that comfortable quote unquote middle class lifestyle in America. You can afford a vacation a year. You can afford, some soccer or some Cub Scouts and some
Yeah.
swim lessons for your kids. You can put food on the table. Like that's just kind of that number.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. Am I putting way more into it because I'm pulling out extra money to like get us ahead in life? Yes. Can you make that sacrifice to say we don't need X, Y, and Z right now? That's
Yeah.
the conversation you need to have with your spouse, your significant other, whatever it's going to be, right? Can we live on $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year? Can we go without the vacations? Can we go without cable? Can we just go to the park and play at the park that's free and we're going to walk there? We're going to ride our bikes there. Like
Yeah.
you have to have that conversation and set those expectations to make it work for you. There's a radio host that I listen to, and his wife stayed at home with the kids forever. There was years, this is going back into like the 80s, right? Like he was
Yeah.
making like $28,000 a year. Right? Like
Oh yeah.
nothing. And that's the way I grew up. My mom was a single mom making $24,000 a year, raising two boys in in a condo that she rented that the lady was giving us a steal of a deal on, and
Yeah.
her boys grew out of the NES and went off to college, and the only reason we had a Nintendo was because she gave us her boys Nintendo. So like there was a Christmas, and I remember it vividly because it was the most toys I ever got.
Yeah.
We were the family from the elementary school that got the free toys that were all donated. Like
Yeah.
that was, I grew up on free lunch. I don't want, and I think that's why I am the way I am. I don't want that for my kids. And so, like, to me, providing and love is you can have anything you want. I may not be around, but like I can here, look, you get all the things I never got, right? Like you give from this
Yeah.
place
But that's
of
just,
how you were raised and your vision of what great is.
and that's the thing. It's like, that's kind of like, I'm not downplaying what you just said, or, what
Yeah,
you're
yeah, no, I
doing,
get it.
but, that's almost like buying
Correct.
your
Oh,
affection
I know
from
what
your
I'm
family,
doing, dude. I look,
you know.
here's the other thing is so
Because I do the same thing. Like, up until now, we were barely scraping by. I was only making like 29, 30 grand a year after
mhm.
expenses and everything like that. But, and at Christmas time, you know, we'd ask the kids, we're like, all right, write out your Christmas list. And of course, it was all extravagant stuff. And we're like, yeah, you're not getting this. But, we're like, you get, here's your list. You get one thing I want, one thing I need, one thing that's useful. There was like five categories. You get five presents. And then I'd splurge. It's sad that you got to splurge to get them something big. Like I got them like portable DVD players,
Yeah.
or I got them a tablet or a phone or something like that. But, and it always put me into debt, but it was worth it. But it was, in looking back on it now, having this conversation, I'm like, I pretty much just bought my kids love, you
Correct.
know?
Yes. Well, and the other, like, just like that, right? Like, you're trying to buy it, and I kind of do the same thing, and I know I do, right? Like, I give them swim lessons, and they get this, that, or the other thing, and like, I try and like, my son wanted a Nintendo Switch, and I was like, no, I'm not buying that for you. You don't need it. You got to
Yeah.
earn the money for it.
Yeah.
So he had to do that, but he saved up birthday money and stuff, and then I went to I had him with me on a bid, and we went to a client's house. And I love this client to death. She's an awesome person. And he's my son's like, God, so he's 11 now. He had to have been like 9. This was like 2 years ago. He's talking to her and he's like, I'm trying to get a Nintendo Switch. So I'm working with daddy. And she's like, well, how much more money do you need? He was like, $100. And she goes, oh, is that all? Here you go. And I was like,
Wow.
Diane, you can't just give the kid $100. And she's
Yeah.
like, yes, I can. This is my house. I'll do what I want. She needs to know there's good people in the world. And I love Diane to death. And we fought about
Yeah.
it. And like, she's right. There's good people in the world that'll do good things. And that's a great lesson.
Yeah.
The lesson for
And
him was he's still lazy to this day and expects to have handouts.
oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
other parts of it go back to I try and justify like I'm a great dad because
Yeah.
I'm around, right? Like my mom and dad got divorced when I was 2, and then my mom moved me across the country to Chicago, and I never saw my dad, and he's an alcoholic and he was never around. And like my thing is, well, at least we're still married for March
Yeah.
28th of this year will be 13 years, and I'm still around. I'm here, right? Like I'm a
Yeah.
good dad because I'm here. Is that really the case though?
Yeah.
Or am I
You
just
know,
trying to make excuses to make myself feel good? Like how much more do I need to step up to be the person they deserve while still trying to build a business? And maybe the business is what needs, well, I can tell you the business is what needs to be set apart, but in my mind, I'm trying to build something that will take care of them for the rest of their life. But maybe that needs to wait, and I need to just suck it up and not be a
yeah,
baby.
because that business will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're just starting it, like you're what, 5 years into it, 6 years into it.
I'm 3 years on my own. June is 6 years in the
Yeah.
business.
And you're building that business, and you're building it quickly, and you're doing a great job at it. But what have you given up at that point? And I understand what it is to build a business and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but
You were there.
you gotta also be like, what did I just give up to do this? And that's what I look back on, and I'm like, okay, 27 years, I'm finally where I need to be, but what did I just miss out on?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I look back on everything and I was like, I love what I do. Wouldn't do it for so long if I didn't love what I do and
Yeah.
put the passion and everything into it. But the best times I've had are those small moments with my kids and
Correct.
with my wife and everything. It's like last year we took our first real vacation. It wasn't just going to, down to Kentucky to visit my brothers or anything, or we went down to Georgia. I don't know how 6 years ago, 7 years ago, to visit my friend down there.
Okay.
But we took a real vacation. Where got a hotel, went and saw the sights.
Yeah.
It was only a weekend, but that was the best weekend ever. Because everybody got along. There was no fighting, no arguing. We were all joking around. We had a great time. We loved where we went, and there was no big attractions. There was no roller coasters, no, we went to Michigan of all places, from Ohio, you don't go to Michigan, and, it wasn't to an amusement park, we went to a small little Bavaria type town,
Yeah.
and it was for Thanksgiving. We were like, you know what, let's enjoy Thanksgiving this year. We're not going to the families. We're going to go out of town.
No,
And,
I get it.
and we
I do.
absolutely enjoyed it. It was the best 3 days ever. And
Yeah.
those are the things that you work for.
Well, so we've never done a vacation either, right? Like we've done Cub Scout campouts and like, because
Yeah.
we're leaders and whatnot, like we're obligated to be there. And
But there's no relaxing on that.
correct, exact. But that's what I'm saying. And so like, we've never done like the family vacation thing. Like
Yeah.
I take the past couple of years since I've started the business and money's been better.
Mm-hmm.
We go back to Wisconsin for Christmas. That's where my in-laws are.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to my wife's family, we stay at my mother-in-law's and we hang out, and like it's fun, but it's okay. We drive there, so it's 2 days of driving.
Yeah.
And then we hang out for a couple weeks and there's family to see, but it's not a vacation. Like it is, but it's not. So
Yeah.
this year
And you're not just running out, going to enjoy the sights or,
correct.
seeing, walking around, because you're doing family stuff with the in-laws and everything like that.
Exactly. So we were contemplating a move to Northwest Arkansas. And that's not because they were offering $10K to move there. And it was a compromise between moving back to the Midwest and dealing with snow and not Arizona, which like I love Arizona. My wife loves Wisconsin, and I will never live in the Midwest again. So it met like the requirements of being like a compromise for both of us that we could handle. And it was, instead of it being a 28-hour drive, it was a 12-hour drive or like 11-hour drive, right? Like it kind of met, like it was just this happy medium. So on our way back from Christmas this year, we drove down there and we spent the day driving down there, and then we stayed at the hotel, and then we stayed a day down there. And I was, I talked with a realtor. My wife and I talked with the realtor, and then we drove around and like looked at like different houses that we saw in different areas and kind of like did it. But honestly, like the best part of it was taking my kids to the pool at the hotel and watching them swim and hang out and have fun. Like it was an actual vacation, even though like I said, it was for business purposes and it was research, but like it's the closest thing to a vacation we've done. And the best thing was watching them swim and have fun. And it was relaxing for me. Like I was able to stop and watch them and enjoy and just really be in that moment. And we need that. Like you have to be able to connect with them. They're going to remember that way more than driving back and forth and, hanging out with grandma. They're going to remember like, hey, we went to Arkansas and we swam in the hotel. And then actually I got sick. I was like, hey, we need to leave. I don't know what was wrong with me, man. I got this fever and it was like 6:00 at night. We got back to the hotel by like 6:30 and like I went to bed and I woke up and I drove us back home the next day because I was fine. Like, I don't know what happened. Like I got, it wasn't the Rona, but I ended up, dude, I was just like, I got this fever and the chills and I had my wife, man, I sent her to the desk and I had her ask for 4 more blankets. So I had 5 blankets
Wow.
plus the comforter on me, and I was still like shivering in this hotel bed.
It was like a 12-hour bug or something.
Yeah, dude, it was a 12-hour bug. And so I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, oh man, I'm hot as heck. Get these things off of me. And then I finished out the night. We woke up, loaded up in the car, and we were supposed to stop in Albuquerque. And I was like, I looked at my watch and I was like, I feel good. We're going to go. And my wife's like, this isn't what we talked about. Like, I don't want to do this. I was like, it's only 5.5 more hours. We're going. We're going to get home. And so that was another point of contention. Make sure you communicate with your spouse. That's part of work-life balance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she was living with me. But we were like, once we got back and like after the weekend passed and whatnot, she was like, okay, you were kind of right, but you still should have talked to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get texts from my wife all the time. Like, your kids aren't going to be alive when you get home. Or,
oh man. We got the same kids apparently.
Yeah. Or, it's like, I saw some birds today. Okay, that's nice, darling. But you listen to it, because it's that moment of stress relief from your day of work, and it's like, is menial as that is, it means more than you think it does. Not only to, your own sanity of stressing out at work or whatever, but also it's your home life. It's you gotta you can't just ignore what's going on in your spouse's day or anything like that. It's as much as we come home and talk about flooring, your spouse has their own life too of their own stress or anything, so you got to pay attention to it. You got to listen to it. No, my wife says I don't listen because she'll stop and ask me what she just said, and I'll ramble something off, and sometimes I'm correct, sometimes I'm not. But it's you got to make sure you pay attention to that also.
I agree, and don't be my problem is men are fixers. That's what we want to do. We hear a problem and we want to fix it. Your wife doesn't want you to fix her problems.
No, she wants you to listen.
Just listen. Just be empathetic and respond with love. Okay. And I'm not a professional counselor, but that's my advice. Okay. And I'm not good at it, but be better than me.
Yeah. And don't just sit there and go, every time she says something,
that's so funny. So my mom, I had this girlfriend in high school. It was like my first serious girlfriend. And I've had conversations with my mom and she's like, you used to just sit on the phone with her for like 3 hours and be like, I was like, yeah, but I was listening to her. And she's like, no, you weren't. You were just saying, and playing a game on your computer. I was like, but she was happy.
Yeah. Well, it's different between, a mother-in-law and a spouse, there's a little bit of a difference there. Because I know when my mother-in-law calls, my wife just sits there and goes, I got to go, and just hangs up. And so now, like, every time my mother-in-law calls for the kids are just like, I got to go, and then hangs up. They don't even hand it off to the next child. They just hang up.
And okay, and this goes, this goes back to what you said. You have to lead by example. Because they pick up on it. Kids are way smarter than we ever give them credit for. Like, my daughter has Down syndrome, and so she's 9, and she's probably more like 4. But I'll tell you what, that girl has learned that she is a female, and she's cute, and she's got some little charms about her, and she will bat her eyes and act dumb, and literally, like, she acts dumb. And everyone's like, oh, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And like, oh, I'm going to baby you because you're so petite and cute.
Yeah.
No, she can take care of herself. Don't touch her. Kids are not dumb. They are so smart, and they pick up on everything they see.
Yeah, and they know how to play that system too.
Yeah. They ain't got you fooled. And honestly, look, I'll admit it, man. My son has picked up plenty of bad habits from me and how I talk to people and how I talk to my wife. There's a reason I don't work in film anymore, and I'm out here doing flooring in a podcast, and it's because I like to run my mouth,
Yeah.
and I'm not very tactful, and I'm very blunt, and I'm very rude. And I've got an 11-year-old boy that now thinks he can talk that way to his mother because I do. It
Yeah.
does not go over well with me or his mother. And when you yell at a kid and he's like, yeah, but you do it. I'm like, yeah, but don't be me. It doesn't work
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. I get yelled at because it was just like, let's see, Quinn was in probably like second or third grade. My wife gets a call from the school because my son used the F word one day at school. Because that's like my favorite word. I throw it out every 2 seconds. It's so versatile of a word. And, so my wife's mad because she got the call from the school, and my son said that, second, third grade. So he's what, 7 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
And my first response was, did he use it correctly?
Can I be proud or do I need to be ashamed?
I was like, as long as he used it correctly, I can't be mad. But if he didn't use it correctly, and depending on the context, then okay, he'll get punished, but I'm not going to be mad. It's going to happen. Words slip sometimes, and they just don't know at that age.
Correct.
But he used it correctly, so okay, I said I was proud of him for using it correctly and everything, but he can't say that ever again in school.
Yep.
But it's like my kids, they're horrible for us, but when they go out in public, when they're around like family or friends or just out in public,
they're like little
they're
angels.
so well behaved.
There's like there's a little switch they put on, and they're like, oh, angel mode, let me impress the world.
Yeah, and it's not even that they're doing it on purpose, but they've learned, again, just by watching, that they're polite to people, and it's like my oldest, she doesn't even talk, she won't talk to us. She hangs out with her friends. She tries to be cool and everything, but all the parents are like, she's such a pleasure. She's so nice. She's just so quiet. I'm like, are you sure that's my daughter?
Yeah. No, and I mean, look, I was the same kid, right? I get it, and my kids do the same thing. Like, we were actually, when we were on our way to Arkansas, we stopped at this like hobunk, like hole in the wall barbecue place. Like, literally, there was a sign on the highway. It was like Bob's Billy Shack or something like I don't even know, dude. It was like this. It was just like 3 miles off the highway, and I was just like, okay, like I'm gonna go to this place. It's gonna be a hole in the wall. It's gonna have great food. We went. We sat down. We had food. The waitress was nice. At the end of it, she's like, "Oh my gosh, your kids are so polite and sweet." And like, I've had like kids that were just monsters, and the parents wouldn't do anything about it, and they were yelling at me. And she's like, "Your kids are great." And then we get to the hotel that night. I'm like, okay, I need you guys to like walk the dogs, and then we're going to like put them in the kennels, and we're going to go to bed. And they're just like off the wall crazy and disrespectful and telling me no and like won't listen. I'm like, what happened to the kids from the restaurant? And I was like, right? Like, they do learn. And I think we get more frustrated because they're not that all the time. But when it matters, like, the lessons are there.
And the thing is too, you got to realize too, and this actually kind of brings it back to topic, is it's because we're not home, and they act out towards us because we're the authoritative figure, and we're not home all the time, and so they're gonna act out to get that attention from you, and I scream. I lost my voice the other week yelling at my kids because of the arguing and fighting and everything. And, but at the moment, you don't think about it, but it's like I have been gone quite often, lately. So it's like, I'm at work until, I'm getting home from work at like 8, 9 o'clock at night. So, I'm gone before they wake up. They don't see me
Yep.
literally all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I come home, I eat dinner, shower, and I go to bed. So they don't see me still when I'm at home.
Yep.
So yeah, they are going to act out. And, that's kind of like an eye opener. It's like, oh crap, things need to change, and
Yeah.
when I do get home, yeah, they still fight and argue or whatever, but it's nowhere near as bad
Well,
as
it's
when I'm
not just
not.
dad yelling at you to settle down then. There's an actual reason to like listen and
Yeah,
respect me because I'm present in your life and I am adding value to you.
yeah.
And I get
It's
it.
not
So
just I'm a taxi in an ATM. So,
correct. When I was still doing film and I was traveling all the time, I would like be gone for 5, 6, 7 days, and then I'd come home for like 3, 4, 5 days, and then I'd be gone for 2 weeks, and then I'd be back for a week, and then I'd be gone for a week, and then back for two. And it made it really hard on my son. And then my daughter was born, and she was just a baby, but there was my wife and I would talk, right? And then sometimes I communicate. I'm not always great
yeah.
about it. I'm much better with my clients because they pay me. Um, work-life balance, people. You got to
Oh,
choose
yeah.
one or the other. So, um, I would come home and my wife would get everything lined up and my son would have a routine and everything would be great and he'd be respectful to her and he was listening. And then dad comes home and it's playtime because dad's here and dad's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'd get them all riled up. I'd throw off the routine. And by the time we settled back into a new routine, I'd be gone. And then she would be fighting him for the next half a week to get him into the new routine. And then I would come back and I'd mess it up again. And so,
Oh, yeah.
like you do, like folks, you have to be. You can't
It's
commit
that
halfway.
partnership.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
you can't be that guy that, okay, I'm the cool parent because I'm home from work for, as little as I am, I'm going to be the cool parent,
yep.
but you got to think about, oh crap, now I'm getting text from the wife because she's mad at me for riling them up or giving them pop at, 9, 10 o'clock at night when I get home from work or whatever,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it's that line that, you got to think about the other side too that you don't deal with.
Correct. And you're not always around. And so like it's not just getting the family is there and operating even when you're not.
Yeah.
And if you have to be present to make it work, I think you're
Then
doing
you
it
make it
wrong.
happen.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I think you're doing it wrong, right? Like and I guess that's coming out bad. It's not that I'm saying that like you shouldn't be present in your family's life, but like you have to be the person. If you're going to be the breadwinner, you can't be fun guy.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplinarian. You have to be fun guy. You have to be respectful spouse. And look, don't like I'm no role model. Trust me. Like,
Yeah. Me
don't.
either.
But I can tell you from experience. Like I get told all the time, why'd you have a family if you're not going to be involved? My wife makes me a better person, right? She holds me accountable and tells me like, you're screwing this up. You may be better than your dad because you're present, but like you're still
But how
screwing it
present
up.
are you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's funny. This podcast is apparently like a therapy session for me. And I mean, I guess that's what
like 3 weeks to get it together, but
hey, but I mean, that's essentially what I signed up to do is like, I made a podcast about, let's put this out there and talk about business, and I'm the host. So I'm going to add in what's of value, and you guys can trash me. You can think whatever you want of me. Like if you have questions, honestly, dude, I'm going to be an open book because I have nothing to hide. If I hide it, I'm a liar, right? Like I'm Kyle. I run Illustrious Hardwoods. I have a family. I run the Floor Academy podcast and group on Facebook. I have flaws. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do a lot of things. And Mark's here and he's participating and he's a moderator on Flooring Installers of America. He's the operations manager at MDG Flooring. He's a dad. He's a husband. Look, guys, we've screwed it up. And so it's still funny that we're talking about this because all we've done is screw it up. But I think if we
Yeah.
got anybody on here, like I've made comments, I've had discussions, and I've had Roland come along, and I've had Danny Sherman and Ruben Potter come along, Floors by Southern Boys, and they've made comments, and like those guys have been like great fathers, but I have a suspicion, and they can call me out if I'm wrong. Like you guys are being called out in this episode, and I know you listen to them if I'm wrong, but I have a suspicion you might have a thing or two that you picked the business once or twice, or we're all humans, we make mistakes. So
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
it depends on who the person is, right? Like not everybody's money motivated, not everybody wants to build wealth. Like some people just want a comfortable living, and once again, it comes down to conversations with your spouse and trying to figure out what you want. And where my wife and I are at the current point are two different places.
Yeah.
So it's finding the balance that's going to work for both of us, and there's
Yeah.
conversations that need to happen.
And yeah, and again, that goes both ways also, but you got to have that support system. Everybody's like every good man has a great woman behind him or whatever, but it has to
Yes.
work both ways also. But again, going back to your point, that's where the communication comes in. You got to be a partnership in both sides. The spouse does still kind of need to be understanding and also supportive of the career you chose, but in turn, to equal it out, you got to be supportive and do your part at home, because essentially that's the most important part, is the home life. That's definitely the most important part.
Well,
you
look,
know
I mean, it goes back to it's a simple lesson of if you're going to procreate, you need to take responsibility.
yeah.
There's no phoning it in. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. You chose to make a life, like you need to participate in it. And I may not participate, like once again, right? I'm trying to justify, like I do better than my dad. Man,
Yeah,
can
and
I do
everything
better?
goes
Yes,
off
I
of
can go way better. I could do way better. So
yeah. But it's a lot of people use that excuse as like my dad was a piece of shit or my mom was a piece of shit or whatever. And again, I apologize for the
you're
language,
good. You're good.
but um, it's not only do you want to be better, but it's like I'm not my dad. Okay, are you really? It's why not be way better then?
Mm-hmm.
Do the opposite of what you were raised. I'm not saying my parents were horrible or anything, but yeah, my dad, spent a lot of time running all the sports leagues. He was an insurance guy. He was never home. My mom worked two jobs when they got divorced and was never home. So like me and my brother, and, you know, I never look back at it. I don't see how that affected me. But again, I'm like, oh, I'm a product of divorced parents. That's a lame excuse. You make your own path in life
You
that,
do.
I don't understand why people use that excuse.
I think it gives you a baseline, but you can either be sucked into the story you weave, or you
Yeah.
can build outside of it. And I can tell you can break the mold, right? Because as I said earlier, right, I'm poor white boy that was getting free lunch. I got that handout Christmas because my mom was super broke, and like, man, I tell you what, man, my mom was the coupon queen. She could pinch two pennies together and a third one would
Yeah.
pop out. Like, I know the house I grew up in, and I've done everything I can to like get out of that situation.
Yeah.
And I've done it. Like, you can become what you want to become. I don't care who you are, where you are in the world. Like, you may not have all the advantages that some people have, but if you put your mind to it, you can build your way out of anything, I think.
Oh yeah.
So it's
You just got
you
to be
just
able to put that, you, you got to put that stress of work and away when you get home. I read this story, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I don't even remember where I read it, but it was, I don't know, there's some kind of contractor, plumbing,
oh,
electrical,
he
flooring, I
comes
don't know,
home and he puts
whatever.
it on the tree, right?
Yes.
I was going to
yes.
bring this story up. That's so funny. Good job. All right, go ahead.
That was actually going to be my last story.
All right, do it.
For the end.
Do it. Go ahead.
It was, yeah, I don't even remember the full thing. I do a condensed version of it, but that stuck with me, since I read that. And I try to do that now. And that's why I have those, like that 1 or 2 beers or 3 beers after work, to complain to my warehouse guy or whatever installer's there, is that's my tree. So that way I put all my works stuff there and I leave it there. So that way I could just pick it up again in the morning when I show up. But when I come home, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And now I could come home and dedicate, if I get rid of the aches and pains and the tiredness, it would be even better. But now it's like my attention's here now, and work's gone. I don't bring that home now. And I've tried, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen every day, but as much as I try, that's what I try to do, so that way, not only do I put those up on my tree, now I got that hour drive home to get the thought out of my head also. So now I get home, it's nothing but my wife and kids.
Yeah.
I've even put the phone down where I'm not looking at FIA all night long, or any of the other forums or anything like that. It's like, now it's like, okay, my wife and I are together. We're watching, even though we're just sitting there watching TV together, we still have conversations, or, I'm showing interest in everything she does and what her day was. And then my kids and everything like that, and work's not even a thought.
Yep. Okay, so to sum up the story, it's something like the guy's like a contractor and he has a horrible day at work, right? Like his drill breaks and then he goes to go home and he's got a flat tire, and so the client gives him a drive home, and he like walks up, as he's walking up to his house, he like touches the tree and like hits the leaves and stuff. And so then he goes in, he interacts with his family, and he goes back and he talks with the client the next day or whatever. And they're like, what was up? Like, you touched the tree or whatever. And he was like, oh, when I get home, I leave all my worries on the tree. And, then I don't have to burden my family with them. And then when I come out the next morning, they're never as big as what I left. And so I don't have to pick them back up again.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, honestly, the stuff that pisses us off, right? Like, oh my gosh, I had to stay late and self-level, or the lady's being a pain in the butt about this, or like, man, that product's just being a bear to get together. Like, dude, 20 years from now, it ain't going to matter, and it ain't going to matter in the morning. You're going to go, you're going to suck it up, you're going to get it done, and you're going to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And why bring that home to stress out your family then?
Correct.
Because they're going to notice that stress, and then they're going to act out even more, and I don't even remember where that I saw that story at, but man, I read that and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was like that epiphany, like, it's so simple.
It's funny, like, how you can read something like that and it's simple. It floats around Facebook. I'm sure most people have probably seen it, but it definitely floats around. That was great.
Actually, I kind of forgot about that. We talked about this the other day, and I've been sitting there thinking the past week, I'm like, what are we actually going to talk about? And then that popped into my head for some reason. I'm like, oh man, I completely forgot. I'm going to save that for the end. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And no, it was perfect, because honestly, we've come to the end. I hear my dogs barking, which means my family has gotten home from swim lessons tonight. No, I didn't go to swim lessons. Yes, I'm a horrible father, and I'm recording this episode. Don't be me, okay? But
well, I wasn't. I was a part of that problem also, because I kept pushing 1 and 2.
I get it, but look here. I very much appreciate what you've recorded with me here, Mark, because I think both you and I have been very honest and candid with people. What we have is something that's out there and it's real. I didn't talk to a counselor about this. I didn't go and find like somebody that you're going to be jealous of and set the standard against. Like, look, you have 2 very flawed men that were willing to admit we are flawed men.
Yeah.
it's okay,
Sorry.
right? Like we all have, no, I think it's good though, because we're real. We're being real right now, okay? Like we're not perfect and nobody is. Nobody's going to live up to perfection. And so understand that you're going to make mistakes along the way. Understand that you don't have to have regrets, but you might learn something along the way to make a more informed decision
Yeah.
in the future. And so that's the point, is we all make mistakes. We all see things a different way down the road and say, oh man, like it'd have been great to do that, but now I know I can do this in the future. So
Yeah.
I
And it's
appreciate you
just getting to
being
that point
honest.
of getting to that epiphany of like, you know what? I don't need to be here. I'll be fine if I leave at 4 or 3 or whatever,
Yes.
instead of, oh, I got to be here until 6. You hit that epiphany. You're like, man, why didn't I do this years ago?
And
This is so much better.
it's going to go down. Look, if you're out there bidding your own jobs, even if you're subcontracting, like you know how long something's going to take you. And if the shop can't tell you how long something can take, if you're a subcontractor, they lost that right the minute they made you a subcontractor. You get to tell the
Yeah.
client when you show up. Okay. So like, there's
Yeah.
my little tip for you. Know how fast you can do something and how well you can make money. And please try and keep yourself to 8 to 10 hour days with drive
Yeah.
time. Right? Like things are going to happen. You're going to have self level here and there. You're going to have patching here and there. You're going to have like subfloor tear out and replacement here and there, depending on where you're at in the country. I get it. Emergencies happen. They're
Yeah.
not every day. You don't need to work 12
You know,
hours a day.
other than, a toilet leaking or, a water line on a refrigerator that you hook back up or something, leaking, those are emergencies. Anything else, they can wait. If you got customers calling you at 9, like, oh, there's a scratch on my floor, you know what? That could go to voicemail,
Yep.
and if you listen to the voicemail, if it's a water leak, then yeah, return that call. Anything else can wait till the morning, and there has to be a point where you have to cut off a customer to a point of, why are you calling me at 9, 10 o'clock at night?
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not working for you at this time, so you can wait till the morning,
Correct.
and if they don't understand that, that's the one thing about this trade. For some reason, the flooring industry's the punching ground for everything, all the other trades, which again goes back to episode whatever I did years ago. And then that's my one plug. And then, it just, and homeowners, oh, can you come down in your price? No. Do I walk into your work asking for a discount? No. So why should I? It's like, there's a point where you just gotta realize, it's like, this isn't worth my time,
Yep.
and this is what's important, and I'm still working on that, but,
I think it's
you know,
ever evolving.
yeah. And as you get older and everything, I just turned 46 not that long ago, and your priorities change at that time. Once I hit 40, everything went downhill physically for me. So it's like, okay, my priorities change. This is where I need to be, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to work for. But also, you know what? I think I'm done at 4 o'clock and I'm going home. As
Yeah.
opposed to, oh, I got to be here until 6 because I don't want to sit in traffic, and you know, I'm not going to be done with this job on time. Then you know what? So what?
Correct. And I mean, that's one of the things, right? Like my clients think I'm crazy sometimes because I tell them, okay, so I'm going to start at 7. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
no, I start at 7. I try and leave by 3. And they're like, that's kind of early. And I'm like, yeah, I have kids. Like, I want to go home and spend time with them. Like, not after dinner, right when they have to go to bed because they're young.
yeah,
And they're like, oh, okay. Because they have kids too, right? Or they've already
yeah,
had kids. And like, it's funny that when you set boundaries, how much more people will respect you.
yeah,
So don't be afraid to set boundaries in your business. The client will respect you. And if they don't, hey, guess what? Red flag. Don't go
yeah,
with them. Like you don't have, especially if you're bidding your own projects. you don't have to accept them as a client just because they called you.
Yeah. Which, again, goes back to my first episode. We talked about this near the tail end of that episode about a good fit.
Yeah.
It's not that we're just going in to give a bid. It's an interview process.
Correct.
And it's not just for the homeowner interviewing us. It's us interviewing them.
Oh, this was for the other podcast. But yeah, you're right.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's
yeah,
okay.
we had that conversation.
We did.
And we kind of disagreed a little bit, but yeah, it is a process for both parties. If a homeowner is not comfortable, obviously they're looking at price, but they're also, checking you out to make sure they're comfortable with you in their home. But also it's the fact that, am I comfortable working for this people? It's that fine line again, and I'm sorry, but if I think they're going to be a pain in the butt and I'm going to be on the phone with them when I leave the job, or when I'm at home, they're calling me because they have an issue or a question or anything. No, I'm not going to take that job because they're intruding on my time then. Just because they hired me to do a job doesn't mean I'm 24/7 for them.
Yes.
So yeah, it's the small things like that. It's all the way from the start. It's the small things like that you got to pay attention to. Not just okay, here's your cost and this is how long it's going to take. And it seems like with at least all a lot of the posts on FIA and everything like that is, I got this much done. Yeah, but how late did you work? So where's your quality of life then? Is you're putting it all towards work, or you're behind at work because this customer is bugging you every 2 seconds or something. I had a 2-day job that the lady wanted me to turn into a 1-week job, and I'm like, that's stupid because you're doing stuff you don't need to do. You're just throwing money out the window and making my life harder. So there's a point where you got to stand up for yourself.
Correct. And look, your life's going to evolve, right? Like if you're 20 and you're in this trade and you don't have a girlfriend and like you want to hustle 12 hours a day, man, dude, you're in your 20s, have at it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go work 12, 14 hours a day, man. Hustle and make that money. Okay.
Do
something good with it, like invest it or something. Don't buy cars and drugs and party all the time, but like build something with it. Okay. Cause it's going to mean more down the road. Trust me, take it from somebody that's trying to build something now in their late 30s.
Yeah.
If you're, 30s, mid 30s, 40s, and you got kids and a wife, man, you might need to change your business a little bit, and you can't go do 12, 14-hour days anymore. That's not to say that once it comes back around and those kids leave the house that you can't go back to that. But there's going to be seasons, and so you need to like ebb and flow with it, and your business is going to have to ebb and flow with it too.
Yeah.
All right.
So
we're done. I'm sorry.
I got to go pick up my youngest. So.
All right. You got anything? You want to plug anything? What do you got for me?
If you guys ever have any questions or you want to chat or anything, anybody can always give me a call. My phone's on until at least 7, 8 o'clock Ohio time. So that would be Eastern Standard Time. You give me a call at 216-256-9015.
Awesome.
That's it.
Cool. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you for being willing to come on and be honest and flawed with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. It's always good to throw it out there, right? Like you just feel better.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, man. Enjoy your night. Go hang out with those kids. I'm going to do the same.
You too.
All right. Later, man.
All right. Bye.
That's all the time we have for this week. To keep the conversation going, head on over to the Floor Academy Facebook group. Be sure to subscribe so you can hear each and every episode. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and most major podcast directories. Don't forget to leave a review and let us know what you think about the show. If you would like to be a guest, have questions or feedback, you can email us at flooracademypodcast@gmail.com. You can help support the show by becoming a patron over at www.patreon.com/flooracademy. Remember, to learn, well, you earn.